Hi, Ray Smith here. Just a little short video on the chapter on teaching rhythms. Just a few thoughts on it that are in that chapter of my saxophone pedagogy book. I feel adamantly strong that we need to have young students beat their foot. We sometimes get confused with older students who may choose to try to have them not beat their foot. And obviously, I'm with you that we don't, in a professional situation, want to have the foot clomping on the stage. But I think it's way too much to ask a young student to have the beat internalized. I think that we have to have them externalize the beat for some time before it becomes internalized. And so if we just refuse to have them beat their foot, I think it's a much longer road until they finally discover how to think about the rhythms and how to internalize the rhythms. And so I insist with all my young students, and I've got a little 6th grade student that I was just doing this with an hour ago. And I had her clapping and counting. I think it's very important to have our young students clap and count lines. So what I mean by that is I want them to beat their foot. This would be a constant foot beat. I don't know if you can't hear my foot on this ground, but I want the foot to be beating. At the same time, I want them to count the rhythms with some kind of a system. I'm kind of old school on this. I like one and one anda and one eanda and so on. I'm not really familiar that much with the two lay lolly or one potato, two potato, whatever those systems are, the T-ta-ta. I know there's other systems. I don't think it matters what system so much as long as it's that you have a system and that it's working. So I'm going to do these old school, but I think that we want to say something. We want to verbalize something for the rhythm as we're beating our foot, and then we want to clap. Now, clapping takes the place of tonguing. We basically clap once for each note. So if I'm counting quarter notes, then it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4. My hands are with my foot. But what if I'm doing 8 notes? Now, if my foot goes only down, that's half a beat. If it comes only up, that's half a beat. So note on the down, note on the up. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up are 8 notes. I think if we can get the kids coordinating that, that really makes a big difference, because now when I introduce 16th notes, 2 on the down, 2 on the up. 2 down here, 2 up here. And then we get combinations of them. 1 on the down, 2 on the up, dum, da da dum, da da dum, da da dum. We got 2 on the down, 1 on the up, da da da, da da da, da da da, da da da. It makes it really easy to get all these rhythms going, but I insist that all my young students count and clap lines. And I think that every time I have them play a line, I have them count and clap it first and then play it. And I tell them, if you can clap it, you can play it. So I think that we should start there with the youngest students. It's critical in my mind that they beat the foot and that they can clap out rhythms. With the older students, okay, maybe we start saying, okay, now you should have the beat internalized by now. If you need to tap your toes, just put them inside your shoe. Don't clomp your foot. We can do things like that. That's fine. I think that a lot of the rhythmic development comes in the older students are when we think something that's in 4/4 and slow. So, for example, the slow studies in the Fairlane 48 etudes, we have them subdivide. And, well, the subdivision is going to be way strengthened by counting in 8. Instead of in 4/4, I'm in 8/8. Or instead of in 2/4, I'm in 4/8. Instead of in 3/4, I'm in 6/8 a lot of times. So I'm counting all the 8 notes. That's going to really help with the subdivisions for a more advanced student and shore up a lot of rhythmic things. Talking about subdivisions, I do like to have the students subdivide. I'll have them when they're playing dotted 8/16ths. So we get the 3-to-1 ratio. If we're swinging, it's a 2-to-1 ratio. I have them do that. I should grab a horn here and illustrate. In fact, let me grab. I'm going to grab the intermediate book, the Lenini Studies intermediate book, and let me just demonstrate that. So let's say that I'm playing one of these etudes, and I would actually have the student subdivide triplets. This is a swing etude. dotted 8/16. So we'll subdivide a lot to get the swing feel going. And then we'll do some subdividing in the classical sense with, I don't have my classical setup on, but it's not worth changing right now. It's like, and then I just can imagine it easier. Or if I've done those subdividing, it helps my rhythmic sense of you got to subdivide. That's all. I do mention one more thing in the chapter that I think is worth commenting on here, where we have an oral example of it. Set the horn down. When we're doing a retard or an acceleration, rhythmically there needs to be a graduated effect to that. So if let's say that I'm retarding, and here's my steady tempo, and then I start to retard. You can anticipate exactly where each beat's going to be. Why? Because when I changed from being steady, the very first time it was a little less, I committed myself to a rate of change. And then I've got to follow that through so that the rate stays exactly the same. In other words, in that bit of change, there is a constant. And the constant is the rate of change, or the percentage by which each beat is slightly longer than the previous beat. If I'm accelerating, it's exactly the same, just the opposite way. So I'm going along at this steady tempo, and then I start to accelerate. And if I do something erratic, it's not going to be musical. Good music has some mathematical underpinnings, and when we're doing rhythms that have a rate of change that constant, then we've got to have that. Now, if I'm doing, for example, the first part of the cadenza and the do block concerto, here's how I'm thinking about this. Ba dee da dee da dee da dee da dee da 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 dee da. Da dee 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 da. Ba dee da 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 dee da 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 dee da 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 dee da. Ba da da dee da 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 dee da 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 dee da 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 dee da 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 dee da. Ba dee da 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 dee da. Ba dee da dee da da dee da da dee da dee da. Ba dee da dee da da dee da dee da 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 dee da. Ba dee da dee da da ba dee da 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 dee da. So on. Finally, ba dee dum, ba dee ba dee da dee da da da. The way we get that flexibility to work musically is that there is a thread that's never broken. Every time I start to speed up, it's based on a certain rate of change, and every time I start to slow down, it's based again on a certain rate of change. And even those rests between those figures are factored into that so that we know exactly how long the rests are. They're not just random. If you can get that, then it's not only more musical, but your accompanist is going to be able to follow you. If I play with a seasoned accompanist, the minute I start a retard, they're right on me, even if we're just sight reading it for the first time, because they can anticipate exactly where we're going to be, because they know how to feel that rate of change. So I think that's something that we do have to teach at the more advanced level. So that's just kind of a quick few thoughts on teaching rhythm, but hopefully helpful. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.